Hi, this demo is being brought to you by SQL Server 2012 tutorial.com. So let us go ahead and switch to PowerPoint and see what we are talking about. Well, our topic today is really an exciting one. It is the new features in SQL Server 2012. There are quite a few things, so let's take a look at what we will cover. We are going to go ahead and start with the first item, which is going to be a contained database. Then we will move on to a file table. We will discuss the ColumnStore index, which is going to significantly improve performance for your data warehouse systems. Then we are going to show you how to migrate SQL Server 2012 tutorial database to a cloud database with SQL Azure. And then finally, we will discuss AlwaysOn high availability. So quite a few features to discuss. Let's keep going. So the first thing we're going to discuss is known as contained database. Well, this is really a database that is isolated and independent from other databases on SQL Server 2012. This basically addresses issues from the past SQL Server versions. If you have worked with SQL, you realize that it's possible to get orphan users because the SQL Server logins in the master database and the database users in the user database do not match. So this really happens when, like I said, you back up a database on a server and you try to restore it on a different physical server. You have a disconnect between the logins and the users. You also run into issues when migrating databases, things like SQL jobs or any database related object, they are left behind. And then also in case of a failover, the switch is seamless if you're working with contained database, as there is no dependency at the server level. So exciting feature. We are going to basically show you how to do this, but let's go ahead and look at the steps next. So as far as the next slide is going to cover are the steps for a contained database. And this is what really needs to happen for your contained database to work. You first have to set server options by executing the svconfigure contained database system procedure. You have to change the authentication level. Then you have to create a database with the keyword containment is equal to partial. You have to, we'll create a table and populate it. And then we also need to create a specific user. Now, please notice that this user has to be in the database, not at the server. And we will also try to connect through SSMS, in a regular fashion, which will give us an error. And then when we change the database context, then we will be good to go. And this works, by the way, with SQL or Windows authentication. Now, once you're done with that, we missed a step here. You have to back up the database, and then you have to restore this on another instance to see really what happens. So quite a few things to cover. I think the best way to do this is to show you in a demo. So what we're going to do is here's my management studio, and I'm actually already connected to this. As you can see, if you haven't seen management studio, you'll notice that the the interface looks a little bit different. Other than that, you still have the object explorer. You can do the registered servers and whatnot. But so what we're going to do is to open up a new script. Right now we just have a college Northwind database and also a report database on here. I'm going to open up a script, and I'm looking for a contained database. So I believe this is the script that I do have in here. Okay, and let me go ahead and minimize some of these things. So like I said, the step one really is going to set up the authentication for your contained database to work, and you can do this in SQL or in SSMS. I'm going to show you this in SQL. So you have to use a master database. So we will go here. I'm going to highlight this and then just hit execute or F5. Okay. Uh, and then if you wanted to do this in SSMS, you go to server properties, advanced, enable contain database is equal to true. Okay. Next, we are going to create the database with the keyword, like I mentioned, containment is equal to partial. Again, I'm going to show you this in SQL. Just remember that all of this stuff can also be done within SSMS. I'm just going to show you in here because it's easier to mention the differences. So if you've worked with databases in the past, this code is going to look very familiar. The key difference here is this keyword, which is containment is equal to partial. Other than that, it's the regular create database, name of the database. You are creating, some target files, data files, log files. You're setting up some, particular permissions. not permissions, options. And other than that, it's really nothing fancy. So again, I'm going to connect, highlight this part, go down to the bottom of this script, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit F5. Okay. And this should go ahead and create a database. Our database is called school_contained. So now if I refresh my databases, I have this database that I just created. Okay. Now, as far as if you were to do this in the database, how would you do that? Again, here, see, it says database properties, options, containment type is equal to partial. So let's take a look at that. Select database, right click, properties, options, and here it is, containment type partial. Okay. Notice if you weren't doing this, you would normally, select none, but I'm going to cancel out of this. Okay. So now that we have our databases, let me actually do this. I'm going to create a user, but let me, I'm really bad with remembering things, so I'm going to actually select this. Just put this in a notepad someplace so I can actually get to this. But like I mentioned, you have to create a user, okay? And notice that I am selecting, school contained. So this is a little bit different from prior versions. Typically in SQL Server, you have to create a login first, and then you create a database user, associate that with the login, but we are going a little bit different. I'm creating a user called Bugle69 with the password of Karina69. So let me see if this thing works. Okay. And also I'm going to add this to a role. Really what I'm doing is and I already found an issue here. This needs to be 69. I do apologize here. 69. I'm adding this member, this user, to the data reader and the data writer role. Okay. So let me go ahead and do this part. I'm going to select this. Okay. So now that I've done all of that, I don't think I do have a table in here. So I'm actually going to pause the video and come back and going to add a simple table in here. So I am back again in here. All I really did is I created a simple table called student. Okay, if you select the data from it, you can see it's got ID column, first name, last name, cash money is student, and then Joe Reboot is a student. And the reason I added this is we are going to back up this database on this server and then restore it on the other one, and that would be the way we are going to test it. Okay, so at this point we have this. We can go ahead and close this one. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Okay, and let me actually I'm going to close some of these here. I think this is okay because this is a different database. Okay, now what we need to do is let me show you this also. I do have another instance here. It's a named instance called MySQL 2K12. If I log in here and expand databases, you'll see that there are no databases in here. So the next thing we need to do is we basically need to back up the database, okay, on our source servers, on the source server, which is SQL 2012. Okay, and I'm going to simply run a backup database command. that you should be familiar with. If you're not, please look it up online. So I'm going to just go ahead and execute this. Okay, and it just backed up the database. If you wanted to see this file, let me just show you this here. Okay, so here's the file. We just backed it up, 9/23, September 23 tonight. Okay, so that's done. Let me I'll leave that on for now. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to open up a new script, which is going to be you know, the contained database on the second server. Okay, like I said, this is going to be done on the target server. I'm going to copy this script. Okay, I'm going to notice that this one is actually logged into SQL 2012. I need to actually go to this server, so I'm going to right click and say new query. And if you're not familiar in SQL, easy way to check you know, where are you connected, you know, and who's connecting. So that is my user. I am connected here. This create database command is exactly like the other one. The only difference really is going to be that these files are going to reside here, okay, which again is a second server. This is our target server. This is our source server, kind of hard to say. Okay, so so let me go to the beginning. It is in master. I will go ahead and run this command. Okay, we just created a database. Okay, and then finally we need to restore the database. Okay, again, you know what the restore does.